Hi everyone, welcome to my sociology introduction video. Thanks for checking it out. I'm just going to talk you through the course then, and a quick description over the 2 years, what the exams are like, what the components are, and what you need to do in the bridging project. So I'll just show you my exciting presentation. So here we have just a really brief outline of the bridging project that you'll need to do. So we're going to start off with two major key thinkers, Emil Durkheim and Theodor Adorno. They are two really leading figures when sociology first started out, although many years ago. Durkheim there sporting his very beautiful mustache in his 60s and 70s there, sadly able to grow more hair on his top lip than I am on the top of my head. And then Theodor Adorno, as you can see, looking kind of spookily like me, just with glasses on. So you need to make a comparison, please, from the YouTube videos that you've been asked to look at there. And then there's two other tasks for you to look at, two key pieces of research in sociology for you to look at. Rosenthal and Jacobson then looked at this concept called the self-fulfilling prophecy, which is where a teacher may make a prediction about a student, consider them to be the class clown, the naughty one, and the way in which students then act up to that. And Wilmot and Young take a look at family life and who does the most housework in a household in the 1960s and 70s, to see what's going on with roles of the household. We describe them as conjugal roles, but that is in the folder for you to look at. So gets off to a great start. I would actually go as far as to say this is my favorite topic of the 4 that we do. It was the thing that got me most interested in sociology when I was in year 12. I actually studied this unit myself, and we look at basically how our culture influences our lives. It's just so spectacularly interesting, this unit of how our social class, ethnicity, gender, age impacts on our lifestyles, how we form our identity. Identity politics is so important in today's society. We have so many social media campaigns developing our understanding of our identities, and what impact culture will have, how we see ourselves, how we develop concepts of ourselves, who we are, what society we've been born into. We look at distinctions between, for example, it says there, high and low culture. So high culture is the culture of high society, the poshans in society, and then low culture, the culture of the working classes. And we look at the difference there between sports, perhaps, not a sporting man myself, but sports and what people read, what films they watch, etc. How that goes into form our understanding of society. Nationality is a really key pivotal moment in our society, or a key concept in our society at the minute. We've got a real strong sense of nationalism in society, perhaps. Donald Trump putting America first. We saw the race that the that governments had on their hands when the coronavirus first broke, and the snatch and grab approach to people looking after their nations first. You might think that's the right thing to do, absolutely, but it does beg the question how people are going to experience coronavirus in war-torn Syria. So also in year 12, we look at education, and we look at the education system that you're in, and the effects that it has upon you, and the way in which different groups of people in society do differently. So As ever, sadly, yes, we've seen in the news, BAME, BAME, the acronym. So Black and Asian minority students performing worst of all in education, Chinese students and Indian students performing the best of all. If we were in a truly colorblind society, what difference would race or ethnicity make on our education achievement? So what is it about the culture again in our households that makes us perform differently? Girls do better than boys. Is that just because girls are cleverer than boys? And middle classes do better in education than working classes. If you're born into a middle class family, you're 11 times more likely to go to university, for example. So we look at education, how culture impacts on our education, and actually how politics can impact on our education for the first time. We look at government policy there. Moving on to year 13, we come across a topic called beliefs in society. We look at religion, but I must stress it's not religious studies. We're not looking at Christianity. We're not looking at the different components of any one religion. We don't pull apart the big world religions. We do very interestingly look at the beliefs and practices of sects and cults, and how sects and cults are different from mainstream churches, for example, the way in which they might exercise like an overbearing level of control over their religion and over their members. So we don't actually we look at the role that religion plays in our society, the way in which it brings us together, the way in which it divides us, and we look at who is religious in our society. Women are more religious than men. Why would that be? Middle classes are more religious than working classes. Why would that be? And who is practicing religion, and why? We also look at why we are becoming less religious as a society. Is it an issue? But there we take into consideration the fact that we're now living in a global world with a great many religions that have come in and questioned our own singular view of religion and what religion means. And we call that the secularization debate. Secularization is the process of becoming less religious. So Christmas is now about a big man in a red suit and a white beard. Very little to do with Christianity for many households up and down the country these days. And then we come on to crime and deviance in the second half of year 13. Just a really fascinating look at some of the human rights abuses that happen across the world, state crimes that happen across the world, the way in which governments will drop chemical weapons on their populations, war crimes that individuals have committed. Some may say that Tony Blair in the UK committed a war crime in going to war in Iraq with George Bush in America. And we look, interestingly, at crime rates, the ethnicity and its relationship to crime rates. Massively high profile in the news at the moment. The way in which ethnic minorities are far more likely to be stopped and searched than white people, and the way in which that young people are more likely to commit crimes. Working class people are more likely to be in prison, but does that necessarily mean that working class people are more likely to commit crimes? And so we look at the way in which we are encouraged to conform in society. How do we have a notion of conformity when we grow up? At what point is that socialized into us? And how strong that is. I mean, if you imagine that, I don't know, something like 1,500 students at Hitchin Girls perhaps just decided to not go to school or all walk out of school together. So how is it that we come to obey in society, and don't necessarily commit those acts of deviance? So it's actually 3 exams that you'll be sitting in sociology. So education, and it's look at research methods is the first paper, and then culture and beliefs together in a shorter paper, or what feels like a shorter paper because it's 2 shorter topics. And then the third paper is crime and deviance. They are all equally weighted. They are all 2-hour exams, but that's how the composition of the exams look. So I absolutely love sociology. It's so fascinating. I mean, for me, there's nothing more important than understanding the society and understanding the people that we live in. It's a really vast array of careers that it can end in, because it's just such a vast subject. I mean, when I went to university myself, I ended up looking at fashion as my key dissertation. I had a bit more sense of fashion in the olden days than I do now, to be fair. So there'll be lots of key skills that I will encourage you to develop in sociology. Crucially, critical thinking, to look at the theories, the ideas that you will see in your bridging project, to look at the research and actually come to criticize it or think, is it right, is it wrong, do you agree, do you disagree? And just because I'm telling you that that's what a sociologist has said does not necessarily mean that you have to agree. You don't have to agree. Much like politics, we can agree, disagree, and we come at these views from very different angles. So there will be a lot of written work. It is an essay-based subject. When you do it throughout, any of you that have done the GCSE will know that we write long answers. They just get longer at A level. They would get even longer at a degree. So a big part of my my teaching there would be to develop that quality of written communication and think how that critical analysis, critical thinking can be seen in your writing. And that's it. So if you haven't got any questions, please do email. And let me get rid of this. Sorry. If you have any questions, please do email. And over the course of the next few weeks, really happy to answer them. And other than that, just really look forward to seeing you again someday. That would be nice. Right. Take care, everybody. Bye.